did you pick this experience, and what about it impacted you the most?
So I chose my experience at the United Nations conference because it was the first time that I saw the difference I could truly make. I grew up in small town West Virginia, so most of my experience options, like experience wise, were very limited. But an experience I remember very vividly from my childhood was the night Barack Obama was elected. I was very invested in that election at a young age, and my mom woke me up and told me that he had won. And ever since that moment, it had been my dream to work in the American government, and more specifically, to one day run as President of the United States. At Model UN, our closing speaker was the senior policy advisor for the United Nations High Commission for Refugees in New York. He talked about his start at the conference and how he has now traveled the world listening to stories from refugees from Syria to Ukraine, and his career at the UN started at the same conference I was attending. And in my head, it just finally clicked that what I wanted to achieve was attainable. I just had to start.
What plans have you set in motion that you as a leader will lead going forward?
So at the end of our speaker's speech, he invited us to check out a program called Young Champions for Refugees. I took advantage of that opportunity. I'm now officially part of that program. I have begun appropriate conversations with administrators on campus to start events on campus next year.
Can you dive into that a little more?
Of course. So over the next year, I will become president of the United Nations Club on campus. Refugee Awareness Month is in June. Unfortunately, the way our schooling lines up, no one is ever on campus in June because of the summer break. So next year, hopefully in the fall, the club will host Refugee Awareness Week. During this week, I plan on spreading information on the club's social media pages. We want to host events on campus. The purpose behind these events are to raise funds, collect school supplies, and non-perishable food items for the refugee population in our area. At the end of the week, if everything lines up, I hope to give a presentation in the FLC or Cole Hall about our refugee population in the area and how our efforts will directly benefit them. On top of that, the UN has 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Each of these goals has a day that the United Nations recognizes, and on those days, the club will publish videos and spread awareness to detail how those goals are being implemented by the international community.
In your leadership class, you watched the movie Invictus. What was your biggest takeaway from the movie as a leader?
So there's a scene in the movie where Mandela is talking to a character named Brenda, and she says to him, I have it on this card, you're risking your political capital, you're risking your future as our leader. He responds, the day I am afraid to do that, the day I am afraid to do that is the day I no longer am fit to lead. I share a very similar sentiment when it comes to being a leader. Being a leader to me is more than a position to hold. As a leader, in my mind, you should strive to make a difference and fight for the cause you are leading. You have to be able to take calculated risk for these causes and be aware that if they do fail, you will be the first on the chopping block. I used to have that same fear, but I learned over time through my many experiences that that fear shouldn't ever discourage anyone from taking a chance. Being willing to fail for a cause that means you are putting everything you have into it. And even if it doesn't work out, you still come away with some source of knowledge or and a newfound experience to learn from. In my head, I think true failure is hard to accomplish because in the end, there's always something to take away from any endeavor.
Is there anything else in your leadership class specifically that helped you develop your idea of leadership?
Yes. So on the last day of class, we did an activity with a ball of yarn. The purpose was you took the ball, you wrapped it around your finger, so you'd have a piece of the string connected to you, and you tossed it to everyone else in the class. When you received the ball, you had to give a short couple words, a mantra that described the experience and what you learned leadership wise from the class. And it was interesting to view that even though we all went through the same class, we had the same experience, we worked on the same projects, we all took something very different from the same class. And it was very surreal to be able to see that even though we all took the same class, we all took away a very different experience and gained very different ideas of what a leader was meant to be. So overall, I think it was a great lesson in being able to take everyone's perspective into account and understand that even if you plan something to have a certain effect on people, each individual will receive that impact in a very unique way.